What's good, y'all? D1HD here, and welcome back to another Brawl Stars video. I'm wearing the same shirt, bro. It's only like 5 minutes later, and guess what I got now? An ad blocker. So we just gonna ignore those ads that played in the last video. We should not get an ad. If I do, I'm gonna crash out. I clicked on 6 videos prior to this with like hundreds of thousands of views, expecting to see an ad. No ads. So
for 7 years already. And
oh, every broken brawler ever, once again by the homie Beef. Shout out to Beef.
There have been a lot of brawlers.
Also, this video is 30 minutes. I can't even move my chair, bro. 30 minutes. Supercell. Y'all gotta do something about this. Dang, I ripped my headphones out my ear. Also, the video wasn't loud enough in the last video, or it was loud enough, but it's low. So I turned it up a little bit. I'll turn it up a bit more too, so y'all can hear.
Broke the game at some point. Whether they were really strong or literally broke the game, today we're gonna cover every broken brawler ever.
Hey, to go off the list off of the top of my dome, broken, or based off of what he's saying, because we just saw the previous thing. Leon, Rosa, Jean literally breaking the game from his super. The things I heard about Cordelius off rip, or Clancy off rip, or Charlie off rip. I can't think of anyone else right now. It'll come to me later on in the video.
It's August 29th, 2019, and 8-bit gets added to the game.
Oh yeah, his extra life,
He
bro.
was pretty damn strong, mainly because of a now removed star power called Extra Life. This is very much comparable to a Doug super, where if you die, you'd respawn. However, this only happened once a match, making him an outstanding pick for solo showdown. He would respawn with full ammo, which quickly got changed to 0, and he would have a 3 seconds invincibility shield.
For
Aside
what
from that,
reason?
He was fairly balanced, with him only getting a few.
Look at Primo's old jump animation. That man is.
Aside from that, he was fairly
Look at him in the
balanced,
corner.
with him only getting a few.
We used to laugh at that shit all the time.
Speed. The main problem was that he was so strong in showdown. Extra Life got replaced with Plugged In nearly a year after it got released. Amber.
That was too
When
long.
She got added, she was busted. Her supercharge rate was fast, her damage output was insane, her movement speed was too high, she had too much health, and her reload speed was too fast. Basically, everything that could be broken about a brawler was broken. Approaching her was not an option, since every projectile hit with auto aim, and she just melt anyone who got into her range. She was also kinda broken in May of 2023, where her mythic gear slowed down opponents for 20% instead of the 10% it is
Aw,
now.
hell
Controlling
nah.
areas with her super was too easy, and 3 weeks after this mythic gear got added, it got nerfed. Angelo. At first, people didn't realize how strong Angelo truly was, until he started getting picked more and more. 4.4k damage with a fully charged shot, and doubling this by using a super, which, by the way, was chargeable by hitting only 2 shots at max charge.
Insanity,
Power, star
Supercell.
power, super fast movement speed, and his ability to float over water made him by far
That more than
the best
struggling, bro.
brawler at the time of his releasing. Ash. Ash has never been like really broken, as in he's the best brawler. Although there was a specific comp you could use to
Hold
win
up a
every
second.
game. You could use
And we're
to
back.
win every game, and that was
I was gonna
Ash
ask if
with
someone
Byron.
else wanted
So
to
for
react to
Ash,
this with
the
me.
rotten banana gadget,
I changed
Maddox
my mind,
had
though.
star power, and the Byron would make him an unkillable tank, which would deal a ridiculous amount of damage. There was, however, a time
What did I say? The video isn't all about broken brawlers or broken comps, so I rarely mention them. Okay.
There was, however, a time where Ash
Oh
literally
yeah, Larry and
broke the game,
Laurie.
and that was in June of 2024, where he would crash the game if you played him in duels together with Larry and Laurie. This was a bug, and you could exploit it for free trophies, so they temporarily disabled Ash. Barley.
I didn't even
For
know
this
that.
one, we need to go back to beta. During this time, Barley might have been the best brawler, for a heist at least. His super used to be able to stack, which meant that it would deal an insane amount of damage.
Whoa,
with your super
what the
right on top of the
fuck?
high save. This
Ah,
caused the
hell
save
nah,
to lose
Barley.
about 50% of its health. If you had 2 full supers, it would already be game over. This wasn't only strong on the save, because you could of course also melt any opponent who came too close. Later in 2021, Barley received a ton of buffs to his extra noxious star power, main attack damage, and main attack range. There was not a single way for you to win a lane against Barley, unless you had a really aggro brawler to pressure him. B always had her ups and downs, but when she has an up, she is broken. especially
Ooh,
for
her
someone
honey
with star
coat.
power
Her honey
on his
coat
own.
from back in the day.
This is Draco's last stand gadget. You'd survive at 1 HP once per life. So if you died and respawned, you would get another go at this star power. It got
Green Hill
nerfed once
Zone's
per match after a few
iconic music.
months,
I'm
but
sorry,
then
this
it
ain't
got
even about
kinda
Brawl
garbage
Stars.
in the 3v3 modes. Just like extra life, this star power was impossible to balance, so it got
Ooh, Colt with his silver bullet gadget. That shit was broken.
removed and replaced
Everybody
with
was
Honeycomb.
rocking that shit
It also
because it
can't
scaled up
be
with the
forgot about
power-ups.
this Rattle Hive gadget. Back in the day, the bees would pierce, allowing you to hit multiple people, and they dealt a ton of damage. Too much actually. Barry. Barry is the best support brawler, hands down. The fact that he also has the ability to control
This man loves
like
Mario
none
and
other,
Sonic
it
music.
makes him really strong. Bo.
I'm not complaining though.
Despite Bo receiving a total of 25 buffs, he has never been super broken, except for a few times. Most notably was when his tripwire gadget got added in August of
It was
2020.
instant.
It had no delay when you used it, meaning mines would immediately explode.
Aw,
If you
hell
spam
nah.
Star power, you get a free kill. Also, he has always been really good with his super totem gadget.
Oh yeah, the
but
super
it was
totem.
really
He can't be in the
dependent
back
on a
with
certain
Nani.
team composition for it to become broken. So yeah.
I miss those
Lastly,
days.
he was also kinda broken when he received a super
Yes,
charge
I'm not
and
lying.
a 200
Camping.
damage buff per arrow in December of
Both teams would
2023.
just do that.
It wasn't game breaking or anything. He was just really strong. Oh, and I almost forgot about his Underworld and Horus bow skin, which back in 2021 gave a larger explosion radius when using his main attack, so he could basically shoot through walls.
Insanity,
Bunny.
what
She's
the
been
hell?
fairly balanced. However, she completely broke the game in October of 2023, where her supercharge gear would sorta crash the game. If you
What the
supered,
fuck was that?
well, this would happen. The game couldn't handle it, and it ultimately crashed. Bonnie was temporarily disabled, just like Ash we mentioned earlier. Brock.
I didn't know that either.
Brock received a ton of buffs to his main attack damage, making it go from 1040 to 1300 eventually, and that would be from 2080 to 2600 at max level right now. His rocket fuel gadget also gave a damage buff, making his main attack deal around 3k damage. He was crazy. Bull. When hypercharges were introduced to the game, Bull had a
Bulls
weird
is
glitch
strong.
where he would always have an 80% damage reduction when his super was used.
A
It
glitch?
only worked at power 11, and it made Bull kinda overpowered. Also,
Kind
if
of.
you're enjoying the video, make sure to subscribe. We're closing in on a
I
billion
use Bull's
subscribers,
hypercharge
so
now in
I
Brawl
really
Ball and
like
it's a
it.
free
He's
score.
very well
That was definitely a free
on
score then.
release, he was busted. His super lasted what felt like forever, 6 seconds to be exact, and you could basically cycle it. The damage he dealt was also kinda wild, considering with the stats he had then, he would deal 3400 damage right now per shot. On top of that, he had about the same amount of
Damn.
health as El Primo, and both of his gadgets and star powers were too strong. Byron. Actually, he was just a little bit stronger than he is now. The thing is though, there were about 40 brawlers in the game, which is just around half of the brawlers we have nowadays. There weren't too many answers to a Byron, and that made him kinda broken. Charlie. This is definitely the
Yeah.
top 5 most broken brawlers
We don't
ever.
mess with
I don't
Charlie,
even know
bro.
where to start with her. Alright, so her super. Let's start with
That thing used to take away like all of your ammo.
10 seconds. Like, you will be out of the game for 10 entire seconds. Her digestive star power also got rid of 50% of your health, and if that wasn't enough, you could charge her super with only 5 hits. Of course,
She used to
this
be
is
able
all
to attack a lot
because she had
faster,
almost
too.
no delay in between shots. You could just spam out attacks like it's nothing. Her spider's gadget had way too much health, and it lasted too long. She also dealt more damage, had more range, and her projectile speed was faster than now. Charlie was insane. Chester. He was strong on release, to say the least. There was one part of him that was really strong, and that was his Jawbreaker
His
super.
stun.
It would deal 2100 damage. It had a
Why
stun
does it-
duration of
Why does a stun deal damage?
2
Supercell.
seconds.
Supercell,
You
man.
could barely miss it because it was so fast, and it also charged 1/3 of your super. Not sure this super was broken, but Chester's damage as well. Chuck. The first ever brawler you could buy as an early access offer, and it was worth it for sure. Heist became completely unplayable due to one simple thing. And that thing was the fact that Chuck respawned with his super. Yeah, So after you place down your post, there was no stopping him. It got nerfed so that you wouldn't have your super, and that's actually the only balance change that Chuck has ever received. Clancy.
Because he
very
doesn't need
recent.
anything else. Chuck is such a...
Yeah. Bro, what is this
I don't know.
damage? Colette.
I wasn't playing at the time. I heard from my cousin about how broken Clancy and Charlie was and Cordelius was on release, and I'm sitting there like, okay, well, I'm glad I'm not playing anymore. What the fuck was that, Clancy?
Yeah. Bro, what is this damage?
That's more than 33% of the safe's health.
Colette. She was a different kind of broken. She couldn't kill anyone. Her minimum attack damage was 280, and this got buffed to 700, so that's nice. She received 3 more attack buffs, 2 super buffs, and her gadget got reworked and immediately buffed as well to make her a pretty good brawler. Colt.
I'm
It's
glad, because I
late
like Colette.
November 2020, and Colt still
Silver
has
bullet.
bullets added.
Here it is. I told y'all, bro.
Dealt the same amount of damage as 6 of his projectiles, meaning that if you hit every bullet with 1 ammo, it would deal the same amount of damage as 1 gadget. Colt also received a fairly decent damage buff 2 weeks after this gadget got released, and that made Colt absolutely broken. Cordelius. Upon his release, he could charge his super inside of the Shadow Realm, which created some cheesy strategies in Showdown, for example. Massive hordes of Cordelius and Shelly players would team up and spend the entire game inside of the Shadow Realm, basically skipping the entire match. Daryl. When Brawl Stars was
Toad's
in beta,
Factory? That's
Daryl had
crazy.
a ridiculously long range with his super.
Nah, sorry. I'm too busy singing the music because it's Toad's Factory from Mario Kart Wii. But they would deadass camp inside of his shadow thing the whole time to just win. That's fucking lame.
3.3 tile range is absolutely insane. He could go from one to the other side of the map with a single roll.
Hard
He
Rock
also
Mine
had
was
a
in the
lot of
game
health and
since
double
all the way
damage,
back
which all
then.
had to get nerfed
It's
before
crazy.
the game went global. Draco. Draco wasn't as broken as some other brawlers in this video, but his entire kit made him
Waluigi
really
Stadium
strong.
music.
Especially his gadget and damage reduction when using a super. It gave Draco a bit too much survivability. Edgar. You might remember when Edgar was
The
released,
Edgar-pocalypse?
it was complete chaos, with Edgars everywhere you looked. And with everyone unlocking him for free, he flooded the servers, which also crashed
Broke the game.
for a while.
We couldn't log in, bro.
He became by far the worst brawler in the game for a few years, but then he got his hyper. Because of his Let's Fly gadget letting him charge his hyper as well, you could spam out hyperchargers like it's nothing. It received a 62.5% charge nerf after the first week. Ems. You couldn't even come close to her. Ems' friend zoner gadget used to cover a ridiculous distance and pushed enemies really far back. Eve. When she was released, she
I'm
was
glad that
one
shit's nerfed.
handling every single ammo. That is, if you hit your last egg. Luckily, that wasn't a big problem because her attack speed was incredibly fast and she had one of the longest ranges in the game. By the way, her hatchlings didn't only have 1000 HP like they have now, no, they had 3000 HP. Good luck dealing with that.
Fuck no.
And I almost forgot 1200 damage per hatchling. Multiply that by 3 and that's an extra 3600 damage on top of her main attack, which already dealt 2400 damage per ammo. This made it so if she hit every single ammo, she would deal almost 11,000 damage.
She's
And
melting
that's
any
not all,
brawler.
Since on top of this insane damage, her super was also really easy to charge, needing only 7 projectiles to be hit in order to charge her super. Fang. Upon release, he was broken, just like
I
so many other
can't
brawlers.
despise a
It was
Fang
mainly
meta,
his
bro.
gadget, which stunned for a total of 1 second. You could also recharge your super if you killed a pet or a spawnable with his super if you had his fresh kick star power equipped. After this all got nerfed, he was fairly balanced until the day came where his super would charge in 4 hits instead of 5. When Fang received his hypercharge, which by the way you
Can go through
easily charge
walls.
if you had your fresh kick star power equipped, he was wrecking havoc together with Edgar. He could spam super after super after super, and the popcorn kernels he left behind dealing 2.8k damage. The Fang would get an almost guaranteed team wipe if they activated their hypercharge. Frank. You might think Frank is really strong after the rework and that's the only time. Well, that's not the case. Back in 2020, Frank received a ton of buffs, pushing his
Oh yeah, his
HP
health.
over 10,000. And with most brawlers not having any knockback abilities, Frank could just walk into them without struggle. Later in 2021, his irresistible attraction gadget got buffed to deal double the damage instead of only 50% extra. Paired with his power
Whoa.
grab star power, Frank became
Okay, that's why it was
damage
power
match.
grab. I was
And
like,
now,
yo,
he got reworked.
5K.
His attacks a little bit too fast if you ask me. Gale. When he was released back in 2020, his attack was comically wide. Supercell made it smaller though, but it dealt way more damage. And aside from that, his launchpad gadget had a range of 12 tiles, meaning
Oh, yeah.
he could cover 8.
We used to go flying. Siege. Gale and Siege was crazy. You would just get your team and have them bomb rush the side and just, bro, boing, take out the thing, bro.
Ton of this
Before the
he
robot
had
even
a very
could.
good early position in a game. Then in early 2022, his blustery blow star power got a buff to its stun duration.
Fuck.
This made it so Gale could use
A
it
Gale
with
meta is a
super,
meta you don't ever
meaning
want to play
he
in
could get a
either.
free kill.
It's so fucking
He
annoying.
broke the game. Every time a super was used, the entire lobby would get a server error, crashing the game. Oh, and just like M's we mentioned earlier,
Minecart
his
Madness.
Slam blowout gadget was massive.
Oh yeah,
as
the
well.
same as M's.
Gray. When Gray was added, he was able to teleport his entire team immediately when using a super. This was
Really?
frustrating and overpowered.
I didn't know that he
especially
could
if
do
you use
that.
Something like a Jackie and Bo comp. Besides that, he also had his grand piano gadget back when it was actually grand. It covered like half of the map, providing an insane amount of wall break. Lastly, his attack was barely visible, making it really difficult to dodge. Grom. It's late December of 2021 and Grom gets
You don't want a Grom meta.
this time, Grom could actually be seen as an assassin since both of his super and main attack will land faster the closer you throw them to yourself. His super projectiles also had a lot more range, about 8 tiles instead of the 6 it has now. Hank. The good old days where Hank was completely busted. His attack damage would scale really weirdly, so he somehow dealt way too much damage.
17. Oh,
Power cube
he had
or
14.
other
I mean,
brawlers
17
like
pounds.
a
I was like, ain't no way.
but that's only a small thing about him. The brokenness laid within the fact that he could heal when charging an attack, and if you were camping in a bush, well, people couldn't see you.
Yeah, they couldn't see
On
the
top of
bubble.
that, it didn't matter how much your bubble was charged in order to receive a maximum amount of supercharge, so after just 3 little taps with auto aim,
What does
you would
Supercell
already get your
think
super.
when they release
To
these
finish it all,
brawlers,
if
man?
It's gonna blow star power. It gave him a 20% speed boost, meaning you couldn't escape from him. Jackie, when
20%.
she got introduced to the game, she was the best tank for sure. She actually got a 50% shield when she used her super, which was really
I don't
strong,
remember that.
especially for a tank. Her pneumatic booster gadget gave a 38% speed boost, making her about as fast as a max super. And her unload speed was pretty fast, which received a 25% nerf only a week after her releasing. Janet, she was really
Jackie was so good. I pushed her to 500 trophies. At the time, 500 trophies was like a good amount of trophies to be at for like a brawler. And she was only power 4, so I knew that something was up with her.
strong on release. Mainly her super was overpowered, and she could use her
We're dead
super
ass just seeing
when
every
using
brawler.
her
This
super,
is when
which
every
might not
brawler
seem
was.
like such a big
Yeah,
deal,
look, every broken brawler ever. No, every brawler in the game
but trust me,
was broken
it
at
was really good,
some point,
especially
apparently.
with the gadget itself, like it lasted for a long time. It was really annoying to deal with. Aside from that, she also had quite a lot of health, and with a super that you could charge by hitting only 5 shots, she sorta dominated the meta at the time. Genji, Mortis, Bibi, Edgar, and probably someone else merged into one. He's not out at the time of writing the script, but he seems to be kind of insane.
He is.
5.2k
And his
damage,
hypercharge, if
super,
you know, you know.
healing when you attack, and actually quite a lot of movement and versatility. Genji is really fun and really strong. He has some of the best abilities, like this gadget and this star power, which provides a 90% shield, which is very good against brawlers who only have one projectile, like Piper for example. Kid,
90% shield. I don't think that's in the game right now. 90% damage reduction on the shield. I'm convinced Supercell wants to make money.
Kid was interesting to say the
They
least.
just released him early
He was
broken.
completely broken.
I used
as
to
the
say that
keyboard
because
would
it
be
came
strong,
came
and he
off
was
as that,
broken
but yeah,
himself, with him
it
having a
is.
couple of
Kit was busted too.
questionable bugs. Most notably was his glitch where if you collected 5 or 6 power cubes in Showdown, you'd get infinite supers. And then his power hungry star power, which was also completely broken. Besides that, his cardboard box gadget lasted for 5 seconds and charged his super faster even if you moved. His yarn balls dealt 4000 damage at max level, and you would get your super back if you detached from your teammate before the time ran out. So after fixing these bugs and nerfing him a lot, he was fairly balanced. But then Supercell decided to hit him, nerfing him a lot, he was fairly balanced.
Forgot to mention Kit also couldn't get hit if he jumped onto an enemy, so he was basically invincible. I was about to say that because I was playing Kit earlier and I was getting my ass beat jumping on the people in front of somebody else in Brawl.
But then Supercell decided to hit him with a buff that gave his attack and super 20% more damage.
Why?
This caused Showdown to be completely filled with kits because of the insane amount of damage you could deal with these buffs and Kit's power hungry star power. Larry and Laurie. This, in my opinion, is the most broken brawler ever. To give you perspective, they haven't been buffed, but they did receive a total of 11 nerfs and they're still at the top of the meta. Let's go over them on release. They couldn't die because of a certain star power, that's the first thing. They could destroy the high safe within 10 seconds because of a certain star power, that's the second thing. They again couldn't die because of a certain gadget. They had too much health, they could charge a super with 5 hits, they dealt too much damage and their range was too large. Oh, and their unload speed was too fast, and Laurie dealt too much damage. I mean, they were broken. But they also broke matchmaking. There were so many people playing the twins that Supercell had to enable duplicate matchmaking, meaning that every game at like 900 trophies and above had 6 Larrys. The only way to push was to solo queue and hope for other Larry teammates. Leon. He was always pretty
fucking
strong,
sanity.
but when he first got added, he was insane. Leon could be seen as... Actually, you couldn't see Leon. Not even if he was right in your face. He only revealed his position if he attacked himself, or if he got hit of course. On top of that, his super lasted for 10 seconds, and he became a walking nightmare.
10 seconds
He was
of
absolute
invisibility.
garbage on release. But with a simple buff, which doubled her ammo, Lily suddenly became a menace. What a surprise! I do have to mention, her super damage got halved and the same thing happened to her supercharge rate when she received that buff, but that didn't matter too much. Lola. Right now, I think Lola is the most average brawler in the game. This probably won't age well, but sure. When she was added though, yeah, that's a whole different story. With her super equipped, she melted. Back in 2021, her
I love
emote did
Lola.
not have a
She's one of my
50%
favorite
damage
brawlers to
reduction,
play.
so her damage output was ridiculous. Meg. Supercell does not know how to balance his brawler. She's been reworked like 3 times and received about 25 balance changes. First of all, surprise surprise, she was broken on release. Meg used to spawn in her mega form, which meant that you first had to get your super in order to hop into your mecha. It took 6 hits in order to get it, which is 3 ammo. So when someone popped you out of your mecha, you'd have 3 ammo ready to auto aim and you'd get your super again. If you couldn't immediately do that,
hell
you'd
nah,
have a 30
bro.
second lasting 35%
Oh yeah, that
with
shield
your
lasted
star
3
power.
years.
Also something to
That
note, her
that's
mecha
what I used to
actually had
rock.
decaying health,
I'm
meaning
pretty
that
sure
you
that's what I
would
still
eventually lose
use.
it. After about 1.5 years, she got reworked and again became broken. This rework made it so she now spawned in her mecha, the health decay was removed and she wouldn't receive less healing from a Poco for example. So yeah, she did receive a couple of nerfs with this rework, but it didn't do much. Game broken. This rework
My bad
made it
about
so
that,
she
y'all.
now spawned in her mecha, the health decay was removed and she wouldn't receive less healing from a Poco for example. So yeah, she did receive a couple of nerfs with this rework, but it didn't do much. And then recently, she received another rework. Her range got decreased, but yeah. She suddenly gets twice as many projectiles, which bumped her DPS up by a lot. Melody.
That's ridiculous,
She was
bro.
way too tanky, with a total of
Oh yeah,
8
Melody was
2k
pretty
health
good.
at max level. On top of that, her fast beat star power gave her a 24% speed buff with max nodes, and the shield gadget also gave too much tankiness. I also think she was really broken because people didn't really know how to counter her.
3,000 damage
especially in
shield.
Brawl, where quick dashes with her super would usually concede a goal.
Good
Miko.
score.
Same thing with Miko. It was really difficult to time your attacks in order to counter him, but nowadays most people know the timing. Aside from that though, Miko has never received any balance changes except for a buff and a nerf to his hypercharge, but he was still really broken on release. That was because of an infamous scaling bug where he would, just like Hank, deal too much damage if he collected some Qs. He could suddenly deal 10k damage per ammo, which was not as intended. Mo.
What the
considering it
hell?
actually got nerfed by quite a lot before it was released.
The Roblox
I
music is
just don't
crazy.
know what he would have been
I've
like
only ever
if
heard
that
this
didn't
song
happen.
in
Mo is
Roblox.
the fastest
I heard Mo
brawler
was
in the game, faster than Max, whose entire personality
his
is
speed.
based off and around speed. Most damage output
I
is
heard Mo
also
was
too
broken
much,
too
and
from my
with
cousin.
attacks that are almost impossible to dodge, it's really annoying to face a Mo. Mortis and broken. That's not something you'll hear very often.
Brawl
He
Ball
was
days
actually
then.
kinda busted during
Yep,
beta,
it had
where
to
his
have been
attack
then.
would always have, well, this much range. Shooting the ball also didn't take any ammo away, so he could dribble, like, really well.
I was about to say,
P.
that was Brawl Ball when you used to spawn behind the goal. That was when I was taking over with
Back
Mortis,
in the
boy.
day, Mr. P's attack wasn't able to bounce if it didn't hit an enemy or an obstacle. But
Yep.
this didn't keep him from being really strong. It was his
Mr.
super
P
which
was
the
broken.
problem. You killed a penguin, well, guess what? Another one would spawn only a second later. This infinite stream of penguins caused a lot of trouble for brawlers who didn't have piercing attacks.
I
and
missed
it
that.
made Mr.
That's
P very irritating to deal with.
Isn't that a bounty map
Otis.
or
Otis
a
was
heist map? I
completely
think.
useless on release. I mean, his super didn't even deal damage, and his main attack was weak as hell. He did, however, literally break the game back in October of 2023. If you had his fat splitter gadget activated when you died, it would cause a server error, which, just like Jean's super, crashed the game. Pearl. Pearl's overcooked gadget was insanely strong when she first got added, seeing that it dealt full burn damage instead of the 25% it does now. On top of that, it also charged her super with every tick and then basically melted anyone at
Should we
max
just get her
speed.
super
A
hat
few
back,
months
bro?
later, and she received a movement speed buff, and I don't know what's up with movement speed buffs, but whenever a brawler receives one,
Shelly.
it'll suddenly become the most broken thing
When
ever.
when they
Pearl
buffed Shelly's
was
movement
quite
speed,
insane
bro,
because she
that was
suddenly became the
terrible.
best brawler
Band-Aid Shelly 2 was broken. I wonder if he's gonna talk about both of
came out
those.
nowhere. Penny. She was always pretty solid until she got a rework back in 2022. Yes, it has been 2 years already. This rework completely changed her. Her base HP went up by 600 health at max level. She
I
got
miss the
faster
older Penny
projectile
though.
speed,
I'm not gonna lie
less
to you.
range, and the cannonball shot
This is
from
my
her
favorite
super
brawler in the
always
game.
set the ground on fire. A couple of other problems arose with this rework because her super launched a cannonball every 2.5 seconds, and her burst damage from her main attack could deal up to 7,000 damage per ammo. You really do
Jesus,
not
bro.
want to be close to your teammates, and her
Gee.
selfie barrel gadget helped out tremendously with this.
Dio.
RT was massive, but that certainly wasn't a problem. It was
You know what else is massive?
the fact that his super devastated anyone who would get inside of his range. With an insanely fast unload speed and one of the highest DPS in the game, he was really strong. The delay between his attacks got nerfed by 100%, but still, getting hit by those shots isn't very fun. And there was also this little glitch which made him completely busted in every mode. It only worked with his Crimson RT skin, and whenever you attacked, the super attack also activated. Not gonna lie, it was really fun to surprise people by randomly hitting them behind walls. Rosa. This is a fan favorite. When someone says broken brawler, a lot of people say Rosa was the most broken brawler ever. I can't disagree. At the time, with the brawlers who were back then, she was the most broken brawler for sure.
For sure, there was no
80%
countering
shield
her.
that lasted for a total of 6 seconds was wild. And she could cycle super after super, making Rosa 1v1s very cool.
That's
And
all Brawl
epic.
Ball. That's all Brawl Ball was.
Entertaining, for sure. Yeah. Anyways, she completely broke the game, partially because she's a rare brawler, so you only had to open up a few boxes in order to unlock her, which meant everyone played her. Ruffs. With an unload speed of only 50.
Yeah, Ruffs used to pew pew pew.
That
That boy Ruffs was blicking niggas down, boy.
Comparing this to how fast he shoots now, there is definitely a big difference. This lasted for about a month, and the only brawler that countered him was himself. Sam. Sam was kind of impossible to kill when he first got added, due to his hearty recovery star power, which healed him for 30% of his missing HP. Sandy. Y'all don't know how busted Sandy was upon his release back in 2019. To start, he could charge a super with only 5 hits, and it lasted for 12
I think it's 6
seconds.
now.
Right now it's only 9, so you might be able to imagine
As in
how
6
easily
hits.
Sandy could cycle supers. Both of his star powers were also really good, with one dealing 2
Both are
damage per
still
second,
very good.
and the other healed for 300
I still use
per
healing
second, which was
wins
quite a
over
lot back then.
Root Sands.
Shelly. Shelly in 2019
No one else
was
does, though.
something else. Her Band-Aid star power would heal
There we
you
go,
up to
Band-Aid.
full health,
Told
so
y'all.
she'd basically have 2 lives. You could run into anyone because you most likely wouldn't die. Shodan especially became Shelly stars, but also in other
Shelly
modes,
stars.
it wasn't fun. Then,
Ooh,
just
big
like
game.
Brawl, she received a movement speed buff. This one was more substantial though. She
Yeah,
went from
and the
having
movement
normal
speed
movement speed
to very
having a
fast.
super fast
Yeah.
movement speed. It
She
bumped
was
her up from being
busted.
the worst to being the best brawler in the game. Keep in mind,
Literally.
her Shell Shock star power slowed down enemies for 4.5 seconds, so even one small projectile from her super that hit you would mean death, since you were a sitting duck waiting to get killed. Sprout.
Dog.
Boy. 2020 Sprout was an entirely different story. His overgrowth star power was arguably one of, maybe even, the best star power ever to be given to a brawler. Attacks that don't make contact with an enemy will explode with a larger radius than normal.
You
So
couldn't
how
dodge,
big
bro.
was this radius, you might be wondering?
You could not
There
dodge,
was
bro.
no way
It was
anyone
every
could stop
attack.
with those attacks, and believe it or not, this wasn't the only thing about Sprout that was broken. It was, of course, his super, and then mainly in Brawl Ball was the play
Sprout in Siege used to make the robot walk all the way back around to the other side and still take more damage from something
place
else.
where he could wreak havoc. You see, nowadays, you can break Sprout walls if you have an invincibility.
Oh yeah, you didn't used to be able to do that.
2020, This wasn't the case, so Sprout could just trap anyone inside of their net. This didn't only work on enemies, you could also lock up your teammates, making Sprout one of the most toxic brawlers ever. Squeak. Squeak wasn't very good ever, but when he got a second gadget, all hell broke loose. Having a lane against Squeak? Well, good luck. He has 3 gadgets that will slow an area down for 20 seconds. Squeak basically had the ability to shut down an entire lane for an entire
minute.
match, and this made Squeak super strong and annoying to deal with. Then in July of 2023, his chain reaction star power received a buff, which made his attacks deal 20% more damage for every brawler that was inside of his attack radius. He suddenly had an insane damage output, and again, having a lane against Squeak would most likely end up with you dying. Stu. His glory days lay in the past. In
Good, you don't want to
2021,
Stu meta, bro.
what made him so broken? Was it his damage? No. Was it the supercharge rate? No.
No, it was the super
It was the
itself.
fact that his super had a knockback ability, making him unkillable if you were a brawler that needed to charge their attack like Frank or BB. However, Frank is debatable right now. Anyways, both of his star powers synergize really well with his knockback. He was just broken. I wouldn't be surprised if this also became his hypercharge ability. Surge.
Don't bring that
I
shit
think
back,
Surge
bro.
is annoying to deal with right now, but
Stu has a
he hasn't been
hypercharge.
in his prime
I don't-
yet. His
I'm pretty sure
Stu
it doesn't do
star
that.
power was a
Surge upon release in season 2 was busted. His shit would just split for fun. Hot zone match, every yay mode turned into who would be the first one to the 4th power up with Surge.
a little bit
Dead ass.
different back then. The attack split, even if you didn't hit an enemy, which made his shots at stage 4 literally undodgeable. It's basically his hypercharge, but instead of 5
You wouldn't even want to hit them straight on.
entire match. This wasn't the only thing about him that was really good. No, he also had a teleport gadget, which works like gray thingy. You couldn't move with Surge's super, but
I just realized we don't have that gadget anymore in the game. He has that shield thing that I see see other Surges use that I still don't know what it does to this day. And then the one I use that gives him the extra level. His teleport is gone. We need that back in the game, Supercell.
if you teleported onto someone, there was no way for them to escape your jump, and yeah, they would die. Willow. Willow has to be the wonkiest brawler ever. Her super crashed the game. I'm pretty sure
Damn.
the star power didn't work. Her
Instantly
attack
took it back
didn't
to the home
even
screen.
deal any damage upon hitting someone, which was actually intended for some reason. It never made it into the game though, but you know, when they announced it, it looked like this. Supering and controlling someone was insanely laggy. There were and there are even more bugs with Willow's super, and she's just completely broken in the most literal way of the word. I get it though, the mechanics she has are really hard to code, so I'm not gonna blame anyone for this. Well then, those were, I think, all of the broken brawlers we ever had. Of course, there will be a lot more in the future, especially Walter and Jeffrey. Mark my words, when they get added, they're gonna wreck the game.
Who the fuck is Walter and Jeffrey?
Anyways, that was it for today.
Who were
Big
they?
Shout out to my channel members and to everyone. Hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to sub.
7
and I'll
months
see
ago?
you in the next one.
All right, yeah. was a good video from my boy Beef. A whole half an hour, bruh. If you guys have enjoyed the video, you already know what to do. And comment down below who you guys think personally was the most broken brawler in all of Brawl Stars and why. And until next time, this has been 1XD signing off. Peace.